He's regarded as the founding father of rock and roll. Little Richard has lost his battle with bone cancer, aged 87. The pioneering performer influenced the likes of Elton John, the Beatles and the Rolling Stones.
He's known as the godfather of Chicago house music. 59-year-old Frankie Knuckles was found dead in his Chicago home yesterday.
In a world where prejudice and inequality still seep into every corner, Black LGBTQ+ individuals must fight not only for their dreams, but for their very existence. They rise like stars, shining brilliantly at the pinnacle of Hollywood, earning the world's admiration, yet their identity as queer places them before harsh barriers. And tragedy strikes when relentless illness plunges them into the abyss of life. From the dazzling stage to the silent days of struggle, 19 Black stars have left an immense legacy amid unceasing sorrow. Are you curious about the lives of those stars who touched glory but quietly fell into tragedy? Don't look away, for their stories will reach deep into your heart. 19 Little Richard, the flame of rock and roll and the tragedy behind the spotlight. Little Richard, born in 1932 in Macon, Georgia, was a pioneering flame that ignited rock and roll on stage. He was an emblem of freedom, but behind those lights, Richard was a gay man wrestling with religious faith and societal stigma. His entire life stood between two worlds, one of unrestrained music and the other of fear of rejection. In the spring of 1955 at the Apollo Theater, Richard took the name Little Richard and shone with Tutti Frutti. He stood out with his pompadour hair, sparkling jacket, and melodies that drove audiences wild, but in his heart lay a heavy secret: he loved men. In 1950s America, this was a sin. Backstage, sweat rolling down his forehead, Richard heard his manager Charlie whisper, "You make the whole world dance, but don't let them know who you love." He nodded, his fingers trembling slightly. Stepping onto the stage, today he sang "Good Golly, Miss Molly," below. The crowd cheered, unaware that Richard was battling himself with his distinctive style lipstick. Glittering capes, he was labeled freakish. Prejudice and societal stigma suffocated him, and after the spotlight, he sank into drugs and wild nights to forget the hidden pain. He loved a man, but only dared to meet in the shadows. In 1984, in a brightly lit Rolling Stone office, Richard sat upright, his voice trembling as he said, "I'm gay and I'm proud." That shocking declaration was like a key unlocking the door that had confined his soul for years. It seemed he could finally find happiness for the rest of his life. But tragedy struck in the fall of 2019, in a Nashville home. The smell of antiseptic lingered in the air. Richard, lying in bed, his face gaunt, his frail hands trembling from the pain of cancer. The doctor suggested chemotherapy, but he shook his head, his eyes still sparkling as they did when he first sang Tutti Frutti, holding his sister Leva May's hand. He said weakly, "I lived for music. I loved despite their rules. Now let God take me." A smile bloomed on his lips, like a flame that never went out. One summer morning in 2020, Little Richard passed away at 87, leaving the world with immortal melodies. His tragedy was the shadow of prejudice, a heart that loved fiercely but had to remain hidden. He fought with faith, society, and himself to finally live authentically, if only in the fleeting final years of his life. 18. Luther Vandross, the voice of love, awe, and a hidden heart. Luther Vandross, born in 1951 in New York, was the golden voice of R&B, behind a dazzling career with multiple Grammy wins. He was a gay man hiding his true emotions in an industry rife with prejudice, though he loved with all his heart. Luther never got to live as his true self. In his final years, he continued to battle a cruel illness. In the fall of 1981, the album Never Too Much exploded, making Luther an R&B icon with 8 Grammys and 40 million records sold. During a performance at Madison Square Garden, a journalist asked, "Luther, who do you love?" He smiled. changed the subject, but a hint of sadness flickered in his eyes. A close friend shared. He loved deeply, but had to hide everything for fear of losing it all. From there, rumors about Luther's sexuality began to spread. He chose silence and immersed himself in singing. In the 1990s, Luther continued to win Grammys, but the pressure to maintain a perfect image weighed heavily. He battled diabetes, and uncontrolled weight gain took a toll on his health. On sleepless nights in his Harlem apartment, he listened to A House Is Not a Home, dreaming of a love he didn't have to hide. In 2003, tragedy struck when, one April morning, Luther suffered a stroke at home. He was rushed to the hospital in a coma. The sound of the ventilator hummed continuously. He woke, but his captivating voice was gone. In the hospital room, sunlight slipped through the curtains, and Luther looked at his sister Patricia, his voice faint as he said, "I sang for the world, but never for myself." He smiled, eyes brimming with tears, as if forgiving himself for hiding his love for the first time. In the summer of 2005, Luther Vandross passed away at 54. His tragedy was a heart that loved fiercely but was restrained by prejudice. A voice that moved millions but could never sing for himself. He lived in the spotlight but also in the shadows of concealment. 17. Sylvester, the king of disco and an unextinguished flame. Sylvester, born in 1947 in Watts, Los Angeles, was a disco icon with a fiery falsetto and bold performance style, but behind the body of a man. Sylvester's heart carried a truth unacceptable. In his time he was gay, and it was this truth that led to a bitter end for the king of disco. In the summer of 1977, at Studio 54 in the dressing room, the sweet scent of perfume filled the air. Sylvester smoothed his curly hair, hearing his fellow performer Tony whisper, "Are you going to reveal this secret? Be careful. They won't forgive you." Sylvester smiled, but his heart was heavy, his hands clutching the glittering microphone as he stepped onto the stage. His voice broke every boundary, but off the dance floor, society called him eccentric. In 1982, as disco's era faded, Sylvester kept creating, remixing Do You Wanna Funk. Then he chose to live authentically, publicly declaring he was gay. But at that moment, AIDS began ravaging the LGBTQ+ community. In 1986, Sylvester discovered he was HIV positive. His trembling hands held the test results, the words on the paper searing into his eyes. He looked at Tony and said, "I won't stop singing, even if I have only one breath left." In 1988 at San Francisco Pride, Sylvester, frail in a red cloak, stepped onto the stage. The crowd fell silent, then erupted as he sang Mighty Real. Sweat rolled down his forehead, his breathing labored, but his eyes blazed. A fan shouted, "Sylvester, you're the king." In the days that followed, in the hospital, under dim lights and the sharp smell of antiseptic, Sylvester, 41, lay in bed, his breathing faint. He pulled Tony's hand, his voice hoarse. "Let my music live. Let them remember I loved and sang without regret." He closed his eyes, a faint smile like the unextinguished flame of disco. On a cold winter day in 1988, Sylvester passed away at 41 from AIDS complications. Ultimately, his talent couldn't escape death's scythe, but above all, he dared to live authentically, love fiercely, and sing for freedom. He faced AIDS and soared with music until his final moments. 16. Nell Carter, the stage's smile and a hidden heart. Nell Carter, born in 1948 in Birmingham, Alabama, was a powerful vocalist and a bright star of Broadway and American television, with a Tony Award for Ain't Misbehavin' and hit TV shows. She captivated audiences with her natural talent. But behind the spotlight, Nell lived quietly with her lesbian identity, a truth she rarely shared in an industry full of prejudice. One winter morning in 1978 at a Broadway theater, under dazzling golden lights and the faint scent of stage wood, Nell sang "Mean to Me," her enchanting jazz voice thrilling the audience, who stood and applauded endlessly. They called her the new diva, under growing pressure to maintain a perfect image. Rumors about her personal life forced her to stay silent amid media scrutiny. Her close friend Rosa said, "She loved a woman, but she feared losing everything if she spoke out, to forget her true desires." Nell buried herself in art with a grueling schedule. She also married to conceal her true self, but the marriage quickly ended, beyond life's pressures. In 1990, Nell battled diabetes. On long nights in her New York apartment, beside a cold cup of coffee, Nell held a hidden photo of her lover, whispering, "One day, I'll live authentically," during a taping of "Gimme a Break." Her son Joshua suddenly asked, "Mom, why don't you talk about her?" Nell turned away, her eyes stinging, her smile fading. In 2002, diabetes led to multiple hospitalizations. In the winter of 2003, in a Los Angeles hospital, under dim lights and the sharp smell of antiseptic. Nell, 54, lay in bed, her breathing faint. She pulled her lover Vivian's hand, whispering, "I lived for the audience, but you were my home." She squeezed Vivian's hand, her final smile like a stage light that never dimmed. In the spring of 2003, Nell Carter passed away at 54 from diabetes complications, leaving an irreplaceable void. Her greatest pain was perhaps the burning love restrained by prejudice, and even her radiant on-screen smile couldn't hide the deep wounds in her heart. 17. Jackie Moms Mabley, the queen of comedy and an unyielding heart. Jackie Moms Mabley, born in 1894 in Brevard, North Carolina, was a pioneering black comedian, renowned for her witty old lady persona, with her talent and humor. She not only brought laughter, but broke barriers in the entertainment industry. Yet, behind her joyful performances was a heart full of burdens, as she had to hide her lesbian identity in a deeply prejudiced society. One summer evening in 1925 at the Chitlin Circuit, under dim lights, the smell of beer lingered in the air. Moms, in a colorful dress, told stories about black life, making the audience double over with laughter. She used humor to combat racial prejudice, but her love for women made her a target of threats. One night in Harlem, as police raided a bar where she met her lover, Mom stood frozen, whispering to Bessie, "If they find out, they won't let me go." Her heart felt suffocated, the fear of rejection by the community she loved and protected rising fiercely. In 1962, Moms made history at Carnegie Hall, her witty voice resounding. The audience standing to applaud, but heart disease began to torment her, each step heavy. Her breathing labored. She hid the pain, kept performing, her smile masking her fear. In 1974 at the Apollo, Moms took the stage for the last time. The crowd roared, unaware her heart was weakening. She told a joke, clutching her chest, sweat rolling down her forehead, but her eyes remained mischievous. In the spring of 1975, in a New York hospital, under pale light, Moms, 81, lay in bed, her breathing fragile. She pulled her granddaughter Lena's hand, her voice hoarse. "Don't let them make you sad. Keep laughing like me." She smiled, her eyes sparkling like the Apollo stage, then closed them, as if her laughter still echoed. Jackie Moms Mabley passed away on May 23, 1975, at 81 from heart failure. Her greatest pain was the love judged by society, and even her brightest smiles couldn't conceal her wounded heart. 14. Alberta Hunter, the blues voice and a hidden love. Alberta Hunter, born in 1895 in Memphis, Tennessee, became an icon of American music with her illustrious career on jazz and blues stages. Yet, behind the spotlight, she had to conceal her lesbian love in an era rife with prejudice. In 1923, her song Downhearted Blues made Alberta the Queen of Blues. She performed at the Apollo Theater, her voice stirring Harlem, behind her radiant stage smile. Alberta hid a secret: she was a lesbian. In 1927, in Chicago, in the dressing room, Alberta smoothed her silk dress, hearing her fellow performer Clara whisper, "Your voice is like an angel's, but please keep your love hidden." Alberta. She nodded, clutching her necklace, her smile masking her pain. She performed across Europe, recorded with Paramount, and became an icon. She shone with music. But her love for a woman she met in Paris had to remain hidden. Their meetings in the shadows, the constant fear and exhaustion, drained them both. She couldn't focus on singing. Each note lacked its former passion. In 1957, Alberta retired from the stage, working as a nurse to conceal her personal life. But her love for music still smoldered, and in the 1970s. At 80, she returned to her passion, performing at the Cookery in New York, her voice softer but brimming with emotion. Yet, tragedy struck as kidney failure gnawed at her body. Each note sung a battle. In 1984, at the Apollo, Alberta took the stage for the last time. The crowd cheered, oblivious to her clutching her side, sweat streaming, her eyes still blazing as they did in the beginning. In the fall of 1984, in her small Harlem apartment, under dim golden light and the sharp smell of antiseptic, Alberta, 89, lay in bed, her breathing faint. She pulled her niece Ella's hand, her voice hoarse, "Sing. Even if the world doesn't listen, I loved, though they didn't allow it." She smiled, her eyes sparkling like an unending blues song. Alberta Hunter passed away one fall afternoon in 1984 at 89 from leukemia complications. Her greatest pain was the love judged by society, her radiant voice masking a heart full of wounds. She lived in the stage's spotlight, but also in the shadows of societal prejudice. 13. Gladys Bentley, the drag queen and an unyielding heart. Gladys Bentley, born in 1907 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, was a pioneering icon of the Harlem Renaissance, not only a talented blues singer, but one of the first drag kings in American music history. She captivated with her bold, charismatic style. On stage, Gladys shattered gender norms of her era, embodying freedom and individuality. Yet, her lesbian heart faced immense societal pressure and prejudice, confining her private life within invisible barriers. In 1928, at a Harlem club, under dim golden lights, the smell of cigars mingled with jazz piano, Gladys Bentley, in a masculine suit, sang My Buddy with a deep voice, making the audience restless. In the 1930s, at the Ubangi Club, cigarette smoke clung to her tuxedo. She sang her own songs about same-sex love, captivating audiences. But police frequently raided gay clubs. One night, as she performed passionately, police stormed in. Gladys stood still, her heart pounding, sweat streaming down her face. She whispered to Mabel, "I sing to live, and even if I'm scared, I'll keep going." She performed from New York to Los Angeles, openly loving women despite prohibitive laws. In 1952, Cold War pressures and a wave of prejudice forced Gladys to wear dresses and claim to have cured her homosexuality to protect her career. But her heart still belonged to Harlem. In the 1950s, her health declined, persistent coughs signaling pneumonia. In her small apartment, the smell of antibiotics lingered. She kept writing music, her eyes resolute. In 1960, at the Apollo, Gladys performed her final show, her voice hoarse but powerful. She showed the audience her relentless pursuit of love and passion. One winter day in 1960, in her Los Angeles apartment, under dim light and a faint smell on the table, Gladys lay in bed, her breathing weak. She held her sister Beatrice's hand, smiling, her eyes sparkling like stage lights. then closed them, as if her blues melted into eternity. Gladys Bentley passed away on January 18, 1960. Her greatest pain was the love judged by society, her powerful voice unable to conceal a heart scarred by wounds. Gladys's life reminds us that living authentically is a victory. 12. Billy Preston, musical genius and the tragedy of a free heart. Born in 1946 in Houston, Texas. Billy Preston was a gospel prodigy who became a soul star with hits like Nothing from Nothing. Yet, behind his exceptional musical talent, Billy had to hide his gay identity due to the prejudice and pressure in the music industry of his time. His life was steeped in the shadows of concealment, even as he shone brightly on stage. One fall afternoon in 1970 in the recording studio, Billy meticulously adjusted the piano keys, his eyes pensive, his smile masking loneliness. For Billy, he was truly himself only in the stage's spotlight in Hollywood. Thunderous applause and the scent of wine filled the air as he performed Will It Go Round in Circles, earning 2 Grammys after the stage. The pressure to hide his homosexuality drove him to drugs. One night in 1980 in his Los Angeles apartment, the smell of cigarette smoke thick. Billy looked at a photo of his lover, whispering, "One day, I'll live authentically." And indeed, in 1991, Billy publicly came out as gay. He transformed his life, quit drugs, returned to church, and sang gospel with renewed faith. A close friend said, Billy found himself again, as if music saved him. But then his health faltered due to kidney failure. In 2005, he was hospitalized. The pain excruciating. Yet he kept writing music from his hospital bed, his trembling fingers on the score. In 2006, at a gospel concert in Atlanta, Billy played the organ for the last time, the audience listening in awe, his eyes as radiant as ever. One summer day in 2006 in an Arizona hospital. Billy lay in bed, his breathing faint. He still smiled, his eyes like a gospel melody, then closed them, merging into an eternal song. Billy Preston passed away in June 2006. His greatest pain was the heart hidden too long, his radiant melodies masking years of loneliness. Billy's story is a reminder that living true to one's heart is the most beautiful song. 11. Frankie Knuckles, the father of house music and the beat of freedom. Born in 1955 in the Bronx, New York. Frankie Knuckles was a legend in the world of house music, a pioneer who shaped electronic music. With his talented hands and boundless inspiration, he defined a new musical era. Yet, behind his success, Frankie had to hide his true sexuality in a society rife with prejudice. In 1977, under flickering neon lights and pounding bass, Frankie Knuckles, the Bronx-born DJ, stood behind the turntables, adjusting his headphones and releasing Your Love into the air. The track spread like a wave, igniting the crowd, but amid the spotlight and sound, his heart beat quietly, concealed. His eyes sparkled, his smile radiant. But deep within was a loneliness that even music couldn't soothe. Behind the glamour was a harsh reality. The AIDS epidemic devastated the LGBTQ+ community, taking many of his close friends in grief. Frankie bravely came out as gay, defying lingering stigma. One night in 1990 in his small Chicago apartment, under flickering candlelight and silent shadows, he wrote to his confidant, Larry Levan, "I'll play music to save us." He continued his passion, pouring himself into music, but in 2004 he developed diabetes. Despite swollen, painful feet, he DJ'd worldwide, his friend Maria said. Frankie turned pain into rhythm. In 2014, his health failing, he chose the final track for House Masters at a club in Ibiza. His hands trembled as he held the record. He played his final set to the crowd's ecstatic cheers, his eyes blurred with exhaustion. in the spring of 2014 in a Chicago hospital. Frankie lay in bed, his breathing weak, his heart beating like a house rhythm. He held his sister Kelly's hand, his eyes red, saying, "I lived authentically. I made them dance, and the music won't die." One March morning in 2014, Frankie Knuckles passed away at 59 from diabetes complications. Despite life's challenges from societal prejudice, he fought, turned pain into action, and above all, dared to live authentically. 10. Wilmer Littleaxe, Broadnax, the tenor voice echoing faith. Wilmer Littleaxe Broadnax, born in 1916 in Houston, Texas, was a gospel legend who helped shape the genre in the 1940s and 1950s in America. But behind the brilliance of a voice that moved thousands was a secret he carried his entire life. Wilmer was a transgender and gay man, two truths he couldn't reveal in the rigid, conservative religious community of his time. In 1950, with the Spirit of Memphis Quartet, amid resounding applause and the scent of morning coffee wafting through the air, Littleaxe sang Milky White Way. Each time he stepped onto the stage, he adjusted his glasses, his eyes resolute, his voice captivating. But deep inside was the fear of being discovered, rejected, and erased from the place that once celebrated his voice. One night in 1955 in an Atlanta hotel, he whispered to his brother William, "I sing for God, but they won't accept me." In 1960, defying societal prejudice, he came out about his sexuality, living authentically. He faced public pressure and left the stage. In 1980, he discovered he had lung cancer, his breathing growing heavier, yet he still recorded with the Blind Boys. In 1992, he returned to perform at a small event in Philadelphia, singing "The Lord is My Sunshine" with all his passion and love, as if it were his last. One summer day in 1992 in his Philadelphia apartment, Littleaxe sat in a chair, his breathing weak, his heart aching. Then he fell, an unyielding heart stopping. Lung cancer ended Wilmer Littleaxe Broadnax's life, but perhaps the most enduring pain he carried was not physical, but the burden of an identity that couldn't be named. A gentle heart forced to stay silent, only allowed to speak through sacred melodies that touched the divine. 9. J.D. Steele, Minnesota's gospel voice. J.D. Steele, born in 1960 in Gary, Indiana, was an icon of gospel music in Minnesota. But for years, his gay identity remained a secret, quietly hidden amid sacred melodies each time he adjusted the piano keys. J.D.'s eyes shone with passion, though behind his soaring voice was a loneliness hard to name. In 1980, in the heart of the Twin Cities, he performed with Sounds of Blackness, his voice rising amid the fervent applause of hundreds of admirers when he chose to come out. J.D. faced judgmental stares from the community that once celebrated him. In the 2010s, his heart began to weaken, each breath becoming labored, yet he continued directing choirs and writing music as a prayer for freedom. In 2020, he was hospitalized. His trembling hands still tried to pen final notes. In the fall of 2021, in a quiet Minneapolis hospital room, under dim golden light and the smell of antiseptic, J.D., 61, held his sister Frida's hand. His eyes welled up, his voice hoarse as he whispered, "I sang for freedom, though they didn't understand." He smiled, then closed his eyes, like a melody fading into eternity. J.D. Steele passed away in 2021 from heart failure. His greatest tragedy was not death, but the years of hiding his true love in a world unready to accept it. Yet, the gospel legacy he left reminds us to live authentically, even at the cost of loneliness and a lifetime. 8. Ethel Waters, Broadway. First star. Ethel Waters, born in 1896 in Chester, Pennsylvania, was a pioneering star, the first black woman to grace Broadway and be nominated for an Oscar for her role in Pinky. As a lesbian, she was forced to hide her deep love for dancer Ethel Williams, a love not allowed to exist in her era's spotlight. In the 1920s, Ethel was Harlem's uncrowned queen, amid the cigar smoke at the Cotton Club. Her voice rang out like a whisper, from another world, bold, soulful, and unyielding. She broke Hollywood's barriers for black women, but the cost was silence about her true self. The media said she sang to forget her fear. In 1970, uterine cancer weakened her body but couldn't extinguish her stage fire. Though her hands trembled, Ethel still signed autographs for fans, her deep eyes and gentle smile enduring. In 1977, she declined a final role, not from lack of passion, but because her heart was weary. That fall, Ethel Waters passed away. Her greatest tragedy was the pain of hiding her love to survive. Yet, her radiant Broadway legacy paved the way for singers to continue singing for the freedom Ethel once dreamed of. 7. Howard Rollins, the barrier-breaking actor. Howard Rollins, born in 1950 in Baltimore, Maryland, became a star of In the Heat of the Night, a familiar face to millions on television, but to protect his career in a prejudiced Hollywood, Howard had to hide his gay identity. In the 1980s, Howard was a phenomenon on the small screen. Stage lights and applause were fitting rewards for his talent. Yet, rumors about his sexuality led him to withdraw. Amid crowds, he remained isolated. In 1990, he discovered he had AIDS, which quickly ravaged his body. Still, Howard didn't abandon the set. In the winter of 1996, in a cold New York hospital room, light casting shadows on his pale skin, the smell of antiseptic heavy. Howard held his close friend's hand, his eyes red, his voice hoarse. "I lived fully, even if it came at a cost." He smiled, a smile like the final stage light, then closed his eyes, his last role merging into eternal night. Howard Rollins passed away, his greatest tragedy perhaps denying himself to stand in the spotlight. But his legacy, his powerful roles, paved the way for future black actors to enter Hollywood as their true selves. 6. Tamara Dobson, the blaxploitation heroine. Tamara Dobson, born in 1947 in Baltimore, Maryland, burst onto the screen like a fresh breeze, alluring and powerful. With her role as Cleopatra Jones, she became an icon of blaxploitation, a rare black female hero captivating audiences in the 1970s. Behind the spotlight, she hid a truth: Tamara was a lesbian. In her brightest career years, Tamara dominated the big screen, in theaters. Audiences cheered as Cleopatra Jones appeared. She broke molds, affirming black women's strength. But when the lights dimmed, she withdrew, hiding her same-sex love in fear. In the 2000s, lung cancer stole her breath and vitality. Tamara declined final roles, choosing the shadows. In 2006, with trembling hands, she wrote a gentle thank you letter to fans, a heartfelt note from a soul that had known both glory and loss. That fall, in her small Baltimore apartment, dim light casting shadows on the ceiling, Tamara held her sister's hand, her eyes teary. She smiled, then closed her eyes. Tamara Dobson passed away, her greatest pain hiding her love to maintain the image society demanded. Yet, her legacy in black cinema proves that true strength lies not in perfection, but in the courage to exist. 5. Sterling St. Jacques Studio 54's icon. Sterling St. Jacques, born in 1957 in New York, embodied the dream of freedom, starring in Eyes of Laura Mars. He was one of the first openly gay black models, but behind his dazzling exterior, liver cancer cut his life short. In 1978, during endless nights at Studio 54, Disco's Paradise, Sterling was the brightest star. Flashing lights illuminated his skin, epitomizing an era. Featured on Vogue's cover, Sterling was more than a model. He was a living image of boldness, freedom, and allure, though he lived authentically. Societal prejudice left him lonely amid crowds. In 1984, he developed liver cancer, which began eroding his body. Sterling still appeared at Studio 54, stepping onto the dance floor with a proud smile. He knew time was short, but chose to live like light, radiant and unregretful. One morning in 1984, Sterling St. Jacques fell to liver cancer at just 27. Illness stole a young star, preventing a full life, but his contributions to fashion, art, and LGBTQ+ culture endure. Like dance steps under never-fading light. 4. Sahara Davenport Drag Race Star. Sahara Davenport, born in 1984 in Dallas, was a standout star of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 2. Openly gay, he lived authentically under dazzling lights. In the 2010s, Sahara conquered drag stages from New York to clubs big and small. The smell of liquor, music, and lights blended into each performance, where he became an icon of boldness and grace. But heart disease weakened his health. In 2012, though, hospitalized. Sahara rehearsed for his final show, determined not to leave the stage empty. That night, his hands trembled as he held the microphone, but his voice rang with pride. He knew time was short, but understood each moment lived authentically was a victory. In the fall of 2012, in a Baltimore hospital room, Sahara Davenport passed away from heart failure. His pain was not just his early departure, but a heart worn down in the journey to affirm himself. 3. Essex Hemphill, the stage poet. Essex Hemphill, born in 1957 in Chicago, Illinois, was a poet, activist, and stage performer who openly identified as gay at a time when it was a bold act, but behind his courageous gaze, AIDS silently ravaged his body. In the 1980s, Essex became a brave, clear voice for Black LGBTQ+ Americans in small coffee shops and local stages, where the scent of coffee mingled with applause. His poetry rang like a prayer, a record of truths no one dared speak. He lived authentically, unyielding, but the disease drew him closer to the end. In 1995, his trembling hands wrote a final poem, a love song to truth, life, and those no longer here, in his last performance. A play about AIDS moved the audience to tears. Essex didn't cry, but his red eyes seemed to hold all the world's pain. Essex Hemphill passed away one morning in 1995. Illness stole a talent, and the world was slow to hear his words. Yet, his legacy, powerful poems, and tearful performances continues to inspire Black LGBTQ+ generations. 2. Bobby DeBarge, the tragic R&B voice. Bobby DeBarge, born in 1956 in Grand Rapids, Michigan, was the soul of the group Switch, quickly becoming an R&B star, openly gay, a rare and brave act in a prejudiced era. He faced the darkness of drugs and AIDS, silently consuming his body. In the 1970s, Switch was synonymous with timeless hits like There'll Never Be on dazzling performance nights. The smell of liquor and cheers filled clubs, where Bobby stood under the lights, his voice touching the deepest loneliness in listeners' hearts. He lived authentically, but couldn't escape the spiral of addiction and a bitter fate. By 1995, though, weakened. Bobby kept writing music, each note and lyric a farewell. In his final days in the hospital, he still sang, his voice as pure as the first day. Bobby DeBarge passed away in the summer of 1995 from AIDS complications. He left too young, but his songs live on in music lovers' hearts. 1. Willie Smith, the pioneering designer. Willie Smith, born in 1948 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, was one of America's pioneering Black designers, stunning the fashion world with vibrant, energetic collections. But behind the spotlight, he quietly hid his gay identity to protect his career in a prejudiced industry. In the 1980s, Willie wear became a fashion phenomenon, Stars like Madonna, Spike Lee, and David Byrne sought him out, not just for style, but for the heart behind each design. Willie lived authentically with close artist friends, but AIDS, then heavily stigmatized, silently eroded his health. In 1987, Willie visibly weakened. Though exhausted, he persisted with his final designs, each stroke clinging to an unfulfilled dream. That spring, in a quiet New York hospital room, soft light streaming through the window, Willie held a close friend's hand, his eyes wet, whispering, "I designed dreams. Now I rest." He smiled, then closed his eyes, like a final collection fading into eternity. Willie Smith passed away. His tragedy was not just his early departure, but the societal stigma imposed on authentic hearts. Yet, his legacy, Willieware, and a boundary-breaking spirit continues to inspire future Black designers. These 19 individuals are 19 unique stories. They shone on stages, screens, runways, and sets. They were Black queer artists who dared to live authentically in a prejudiced world. Yet, before the stage lights could dim, illness took them, leaving only pain and silence. Which story resonates with you? Who among them moves you most? Share with us, for their stories continue to be written by you.